facility to facility if needed, and know what to do. So anyways, thank you once again for giving me and Steris an opportunity. So today we're going to go ahead and talk about the AMSCO 400. This is the 16-inch sterilizer. At Kenistone, you know, if you go up into the core area, you have sterilizers that are identical, maybe a little bit larger in size, maybe a 20 by 20, but it's essentially the exact same unit, okay? It's just a little bit more modernized. You can see they can kind of angle the corners a little bit to make it look a little newer. And you can see that the touch screen looks a little different in terms of color, but if you actually come up and start looking right at it, you'll see that the icons are set up exactly, identically to the unit that you have at Kenistone. Okay? It's just that this newer screen now has the ability to have some color in there, but if you actually look at the icons, they say the exact same things as the sterilizer at Kenistone.
Just like the panel is
Yeah, just a newer school display, you know, a little bit more color on it. It's not that old school green that gets faded over time and all that. Okay? So, you have two shelves here that you can take out. Just like at home, you lift it a little bit, it comes all the way out. Okay? Same with the bottom one. Since I'm here at the bottom, once a day, we want to go ahead and lift and take this screen out, and the debris screen, and go ahead and clean that once a day. It would be good for that. And it just drops right back in there. When you look at the front of the chamber, there's actually two items right there. This thing on the left is a water sensor, so if you ever get water in the chamber, the machine would cut off and know to not overflow. So it's the one on the right that's the screen. Now I'm able to lift it out right now because the unit's heating up. But once you drop this door and the unit's in everyday use, you're going to want to have some kind of a green towel or a mitt or something to be able to grab onto this so you can take it over to the trash and empty it out. And you'll find little pieces of debris in there, just little things, little pieces of foil from biologicals and things like that. I'll go ahead and put this back in. This sterilizer has to make its own steam. It does not get it from the facility. Neither do the sterilizers over there, and neither do the washers. They all have to make their own heat and steam.
so then you try boiler.
It's inside, down below here. It's got a boiler right down in there. So the reason I bring that up is that sometimes when I go into facilities, especially during the winter, everybody kind of likes to leave the doors open on everything. It creates heat. It's nice to stand by here, right? Right? I know. But it's almost like doing the same thing at your house when you go to preheat your oven before you're going to put a lasagna in there. And imagine you get it set to 350 and you just always leave the door open. The unit would never reach the desired temperature, right? And so leaving the door open here, once the unit heats up, it's always going to keep trying to make more steam and make more steam and keep heating itself. So especially on equipment like this, where the big units and this have to make their own steam, always try to keep the door closed at all times. And it'll put a lot less wear and tear on the machine. Because every time this unit has to go and make steam, you're going to hear all kinds of valves coming on, and it's going to be adding water and trying to boil that water, so you're kind of really using up the machine life for no reason.
So quick question, Kenistone, I know you guys install the ones at Kenistone, right? So do they do their own boilers, or because I know Kenistone have a boiler room.
Yeah, so the big units at Kenistone get their steam from the facility.
Okay.
They do not make their own steam below.
So those are different.
Those are different. It looks identical to you on the outside, but it just doesn't have like a big boiler down below. There's like a gray box down there, and it's just basically a very glorified coffee maker. Okay? So the big units over at Kenistone have that. So let me go ahead and we'll take a look at the screen and just break that down. On the very top of the screen, it's just information only, just like it is on the unit over at Kennestone. And right now it's telling us generator charging. It even gives you a little bit of a countdown. Okay? Gives you the temperature, what the pressure is. And there's nothing you can touch there. So it's just information only. Nice to know. Great. Fun facts to tell your friends on the front of me. Then we're going to move on down to the blue area. And this is where you would actually select the cycles. And right now it's set up, cycles 1 through 4 are all 207, number 3 is 275. But the cycle has the parameters of the cycle inside the button there. So if you look at cycle 1, it's 270 degrees, pre-vac. It's got a S equals 4, D equals 1, which means 4 minutes of steam, 1 minute dry. And that's an immediate use cycle.
Like a flash cycle also.
Yeah. Now, it doesn't take exactly 5 minutes, because remember, all sterilizers have to condition, then they sterilize, then they exhaust. So it's probably closer to like 18, 20 minutes all said and done. But that's the 4-1. Cycle 2 is a 430, 4 steam, 30 dry. Cycle 3 is 275 degrees, and it's a 330. Cycle 4 is a 270, and that one's a 420. Okay, and so I don't know if we've actually gone through and set these cycle parameters yet, but we'll probably need to do that. And I don't know if you want these to match the sterilizers over there, but we can talk about that after the fact. Okay?
Once we get our SPM.
Then we're going to come down to these buttons at the bottom. One of them says paper feed, just like the unit over at Kennestone. Menu, more cycles, which is, to me, that's the popular button, and then standby. So more cycles, when you hit that, it's going to take you to the second screen of cycles, and you have 5, 6, 7, 8. And if I hit more cycles again, it's going to bring you to what I call the utility screen. And this is where you have dart warm-up, dart test, and leak test. Now, I know
So do we have to do the dart warm-up in here?
Yes, you do. Now, I know over at
And the leak test is once a week, or?
yeah, once a week.
And about the warm-up test, is it once a week too, or?
So the warm-up test is for the dart, and the dart is a daily air removal test.
So before the dart test, you do the dart warm-up.
So
do it every day?
since you have, yes, the dart warm-up and dart test are every day. Because you want to warm up the machine before you actually run the dart test. Okay?
How long is that?
It's about
to warm
18
up?
minutes
So 18
to warm it up. And then the dart test itself, I think, is roughly 16, right around
So
there. Give it a
immediately
minute.
you get home the warm-up first thing, do the warm-up.
Is
That's
warm
just
it
an
up.
empty cycle.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, I know over at Kennestone, when you do darts every day, you don't do the dart warm-up because it gets its steam from the facility. Okay?
Gotcha.
These units, the big evolutions and this, they all have to make their steam every day. So you have to warm it up. And it's the equivalent of you getting in your car in the morning in the garage, you put your key in, you start your car, you know how you kind of put your seatbelt on, then you kind of step on the gas for a second just to warm the engine up before you put it in gear and then take off. So that's essentially what we're allowing the sterilizer to do. We want it to basically come on and run a quick little cycle so it's up to temperature, and therefore you're giving yourself a chance to pass the dart test. You're giving yourself a chance. And it's what the operator's manual says. And we all know that we follow what the operator's manual says so we don't get citations.
I have a few questions, but after we've gone through
Okay.
this, yes.
Sounds good. So you will run the dart warm-up test, then the dart test, and once a week, the leak test. And the machine will go ahead and print out the results of the leak test. And you want it to be below 1.0. So all of a sudden at the very bottom of the tape, it's going to say 0.3, 0.4. And that's all acceptable. But if it's 1.1 or 1.3, that's when you want to go ahead and call us. Okay? Now, you want to make sure that you keep a log of these leak tests. Because the auditors come in, and you guys run your leak test once a week? Oh yeah, we do. Where's the log? Well, we don't ever save it, but we do it, you know? Sorry. you're getting a ticket. Okay? You gotta log that stuff. So if I hit more cycles again, it brings me right back to the main screen. So the more cycles is your friend, because if you ever come up to the machine and you don't recognize what screen you're on, just keep hitting more cycles and it will come back to the initial screen. The menu button, if I hit that, it brings us into things that you won't really visit very often. Like change the date and time, change cycle values, change the machine setup. I don't really see you having to do that, but that would change things like what language the machine is in, and when I touch the buttons, how loud is the beep, things of that nature. But hitting that menu button, if you ever run out of paper here and all of a sudden you don't have a sterilization record, and you go ahead and put new paper in the printer, you're gonna have to come back and print the last cycle, right? So you have a printout, and so that's where you would find that right there. You do have a paper feed button there, and you also have a paper feed button here, and I suggest using it. So this is just reprinting a test cycle that was run. Okay, I like using the paper feed button because it's better than grabbing the paper and going and hearing that gear noise is not good. Okay, so these are the exact same printers that you've got on all the equipment on your I-10 printer. Now you do have an emergency stop right here. So if I was to push this in, like if you wanted to emergency stop the machine, you want to emergency stop the machine, you go ahead and push this red button in right here. Okay? But to get that button to come back out, you're going to have to turn the key, and that will allow it to pop back out.
So when, right.
I was just going to suggest that usually it's a good idea to keep one of these keys in a supervisory area, okay? Because it'll take us a couple days to order you more keys if you need keys. All right, so if that gets pushed in accidentally and we don't have keys, you're not going to be using this machine for us to overnight some stuff.
So in what circumstances that you have to use that
Well,
emergency button?
you know, there could be a million things. Maybe the machine doesn't sound right to you and you want to stop it. There could be anything that you would deem an emergency.
If you're not sure, just go ahead and push that.
Yeah, and it's going to make a noise. So the first thing I would do in this scenario is silence the alarm so I can at least think. Right? And then I can read the screen and it'll tell me, like, you know, it'll give me some ideas. Service help. Okay? It'll just give you some information about you know, things to check, things of that nature, but we don't really have anything here. So I'm just going to turn this, and it pops it right back out, and the machine will resume its operation. Okay?
Okay.
And I would just leave the machine, I mean, if you, over the weekend, if you want to put it in standby, you can. And then come in on Monday, you're going to have to take it out of standby. You'll just hit the button in the middle. If I put it in standby now, this is what you'll come in and see on Monday morning. So you would have to go ahead and hit the on button. And it will take the machine a good 30 to 45 minutes to recuperate from cooling down over the weekend. So most people just leave it like it is right now. All right? So that's going to cover the AMSCO 400. It's essentially a very facelifted Sentry that you've seen before. Just newer screen, newer printer, angled sides, you know, just a few new things here and there. Just got to keep up with the Joneses.
Does it still require the annual chamber?
I mean, it doesn't
maintenance?
require it, but recommend that you do have that.
Okay.
Okay? And especially out here, we don't really know what the water quality is. So over time, you're probably going to notice that chamber start getting some of that white calcific looking, or sometimes it kind of turns like a, you know, when you look at somebody's copper roof they have over their front porch, it starts getting like that light green, kind of muted, mossy green look, right? You'll kind of start seeing that inside the chamber if there's a lot of copper in the water out here. But we just, you know, we don't really know Ackworth water yet. So we will soon find out. So that covers the Amsco 400. And I think now we're going to move on over to the InnoWave PCF Sonic.